Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our Premier once told the Prime Minister Trudeau that a $50 carbon tax was too steep for Alberta's economy. Then she told the CBC, "We don't think it's economically responsible to commit to moving to $50 a tonne when the province of Alberta is struggling as it is right now." This week, the Premier folded like an umbrella on the issue and agreed to the $50 tax. To the Premier, why didn't you stand up to Alberta like Peter Lougheed instead of throwing us under the bus like Bob Rae?
Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I would not stand up to Alberta. I would stand up for Alberta. And that's exactly what I'm doing, Mr. Speaker, because you see, here's the thing. The federal government has the authority to put a $50 carbon tax in place. So we can either accept their rules or we can implement our rules. So we have put in place our rules. We said that this was something that we could move on should we get progress on pipelines. On Tuesday, we got progress on 2 pipelines, Mr. Speaker, and I know that Alberta is ready to move forward by being a responsible energy producer, getting the best price for our product.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. First supplemental.
Thank you. Alberta taxpayers and corporations are used as pawns for political posturing by the NDP. The government's own figures say moving to $50 will raise $4 billion a year. That's $20 billion over 5 years. Agreeing to this much higher carbon tax when Alberta hasn't even started recovering from the recession is destabilizing. The Premier has even suggested there's no ceiling. Surely the Premier can't mean that. To the Premier, what is your upper limit for carbon tax that Albertans will be forced to pay?
Sky's the limit, is it?
Well, you know, Mr. Speaker, I would certainly recommend that the member opposite read the TD Bank report on carbon pricing, read the recommendations that were made public last week by CEOs from across Canada on the value to our economy of finally moving forward on carbon pricing, or read any of the other many reports that actually suggest that if it is done carefully, that is exactly the most effective way to reduce carbon while at the same time supporting economic diversification, Mr. Speaker. So that is what we're going to do. It is the responsible way to go. And the price that the member is talking about across the way doesn't come into effect for 5 or 6 years from now.
Thank you, Premier. Second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Premier initially announced $20 or $30 would be fine enough on carbon. Now she's happy to accept Prime Minister Trudeau's $50 price tag. And oddly enough, the Finance Minister has been unable to articulate a debt repayment plan, even though interest payments from this government's debt will be $3 billion a year before the next election. That's the government numbers, Mr. Speaker. To the Premier, is it an unlimited price on carbon your way of paying for the out-of-control spending of your government?
Honourable Premier.
Again, Mr. Speaker, I suggest that the member opposite read our climate leadership plan, and they will see exactly what it is that we are paying for. We are paying for transitioning our economy to a more progressive energy-producing province, to more renewable, to more diversification. That's what it does. And, Mr. Speaker, that gets results. You know, over there we have Team Do Nothing for 44 years, Team Angry, and Team Get Results right here. I'm very